Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge of the Brawler Cafe, bringing you another Tuesday analysis video. Today we are tackling the fourth of the new dual faction keywords introduced in Armored Elite that assumingly we're going to be seeing throughout the year of Armored Alliance. This is the one for Aquos-Ventus Boost. So Boost is very similar to Trifecta in how analogous it is to the old keyword. I probably said that word wrong. It doesn't matter. We're moving on. So, Boost is a ramp keyword like Turbo, a keyword that rewards you for producing more energy. With Turbo, you had to have more energy than your opponent, which was less of a problem than Domination tended to be for keeping it live. But if you were fighting another Ventus deck, that had potential to be a problem. It also meant that you only really need to get off one ramp card to really do stuff, but as a result the turbo stuff wasn't that strong. The big payoff you really wanted to build towards was Winton's 15 energy effect. So Boost is different. Boost is an additional effect that's active when you have 7 or more energy. So instead of the 15 energy or 10 for huge knowledge that you were climbing towards with the old Ventus deck, you are now attempting to climb towards 7, which is a lot more doable. Especially thanks to additional ramp tools, like really good ramp tools in this set, and actually the last two sets. Like each of the last two sets have had one really good ramp tool, and combined, we can easily get to 7. That's not really a big problem. And the payoffs we have this time are honestly really solid and decently varied so that you're not screwed if you can't get this one hero. So let's get into all of that. Before we touch on the boost stuff itself, we're going to of course cover the dual faction cards that aren't boost adjacent themselves. And there's only really one this time. It is Spring of Life. This is 5 energy to draw 3, and then you can energize a card from your hand uncharged. Now this card is not very good. 5 energy for that is just not great. However, the one interesting thing I find about this card is that because it is at that 5 energy threshold, that means it activates Dupithion, Tusk Guard, Hail Suplex, those types of cards. I don't think that's super worthwhile, but it is something worth noting. Now, with that said, let's get into things. First up, we have the Mono Aquos Turbo Action. That is Aquos Crest. This is 4 energy, plus 4 damage. If you're in boost, it's plus 12 damage instead. This is not worth. This is very similar to many conditional damage cards we've seen in previous sets. Just like all of those, it's not worth it. You're paying way too much for something that's only giving you damage and is too much of a conditional. Now on the other hand, the Mono Ventus Turbo Action is incredible and one of the big payoffs that makes Boost worth running. Windstorm is a 0 cost. That's normally only minus 100B, but if you're in Boost, it's minus 500B. So this is equivalent to Nature's Power while in Boost, and it's still a respectable card at 0 cost because that's what Greater Water Boost is giving you. And since you're going to be pairing with Aquos anyways for Boost, that means you can have flow stuff like Wave Slash in there that Windstorm helps to enable. So Windstorm is a really, really powerful card and one of the big reasons why you'd want to play Boost in the first place. Moving on from there, the dual faction actions, we have Recycle, 2 cost to destroy one of your energy cards in play to draw 2, and then if it's in boost, you return to hand. This is a fairly interesting card. However, this sort of effect would have been better served in anything that isn't Ventus Aquos. Like, that's the worst faction combination for this sort of effect, because, like, you have Shun already. Shun does so much more than this really ever can. In my opinion, like, it takes too long for it to get to that draw power point. And I don't know. I don't like this card at all. I think it eats too much space. If you're just at that 7 threshold, you have to have 8 energy to really utilize this card because it's destroying an energy before it can bounce itself. Though one interesting thing to note is because it doesn't specify whether it has to be uncharged or charged energy, this can just destroy one of the energy you paid for this card. So like it's not that you're not going to feel that energy loss that very turn. So it's interesting in that respect, but like it's just in a faction combination that has far better draw options. Like even beyond Shun, you have Crystal Quake, which is minus 700B for draw 2, and and while it's only active while you're in turbo, but in boost you are probably going to be in turbo against most decks. So like it's just really hard in my opinion to justify this card. Deep Vines, this is 3 cost, minus 400B. If you're in boost, minus 8, plus 8 damage. No, minus 8 damage, sorry. If it was plus, it might actually be decent, but minus is trash because damage reduction effects like this are most useful when you're stalling towards a win con, which in this case is boost. Is getting boost online, but you only get that part of the effect if boost is already online. So what's the point? Like, it's really bad. Like, that minus 8 damage should have been the primary effect. Yeah. And finally, for the last dual faction action for boost, this card does not have boost itself, but it is a 7 energy card. Which means that it is playable at the threshold that we are aiming towards when we're playing boost. And it is 7 energy for plus 2000B. Of course, this is far out of range of Blinding Ink, and that is well above the curve for a card of this energy cost. Like, as we've established before, we're looking for 200B per energy. So that would be 1400B on a 7 energy card. This is 600 above that. This is almost 50% more than you would be looking for out of it's almost 50% above par. So this makes it, this along with Wind Boost makes for 2 really good cards, really good battle affecting cards to aim towards with our boost ramp. So this is one of the 2 of the 3 reasons we have now covered why I think boost is a sleeper hit that people should be paying a bit more attention to. For the mono faction hero for boost, we have Hydra's Ultimate Gamer. This is 3 cost boost. If you have 7 or more energy cards in play, when you energize a card, draw 1. This card is actually really cool. I wish it was 2 energy because like it's not live until boost, and like not being live until boost might hurt this card a lot. But I think it would be a really cool card to play around with. That is a lot of draw power you can get off of that. Like every energize you do, like all the ramp cards you have that can no longer like help you get towards boost are now converted into draw effects. However, I think that the 3 cost really kills this. Like, if this was only 1 energy or maybe even 2 energy, this would probably be really good, and it would not be overpowered at that cost because it's still dead until you get to boost. Like looking at cards like Nature's Power and Windstorm, that is really in line with the power level that you should be expecting out of boost, out of this threshold. And considering how much of your deck you have to dedicate to making this work, I don't really see a problem with that. So I really wish this was like just 1 energy. Like, considering how dead it is before then, it's just it would be fine. It would be absolutely fine being at 1 energy. And might actually be worth considering over Shun for the deck if that was the case. For our dual faction hero, we have what is intended as another payoff for boost, but this one completely falls flat. So this is 7 energy. You may draw an additional card each turn, and you may energize an additional card from your hand each turn. This card doesn't make any sense. This card is completely nonsensical design-wise. Like, it's at the threshold you are trying to reach with boost, and it's giving you more ramp? That doesn't make sense. That is a really bad effect. And as far as that you may draw an additional card each turn, well, guess what? The card we just covered, Hydra's Ultimate Gamer, is already doing that. And like, like it's in essence turning your Energize into a filter 1, like for 4 less energy, as well as turning all of your ramp cards into cantrips. Like, like that card has its problems, but you would run that every single day of the week over Lily. Lily is garbage. Like, oh my god, I can't believe this card exists. Like, this needed to be a really low cost card. Like, maybe you make it like a 1 or 2 cost card, and then you give it the boost effect that when you're in boost, you draw an additional card each turn. That would have worked, but they didn't do that, so we're stuck with a really garbage card that does not help the deck at all. For our gear, we have Ventus Cyclonator, 3 energy, plus 100B, plus 1 damage. On play, if you're in boost, you get plus 5 damage. This is so much worse than Lightning Striker. It's really, really bad. You're only getting it for that turn. Like, it's really unfortunate. It's barely giving you any B power too, so it's like really, really bad. For our Aquos Evo, we have Hyper Dragonoid. We do not know this thing's base form, but it's probably not going to be too great. It's 704, and when you're in boost, plus 300B, plus 6 damage. This is only hitting 1010, which is not that respectable. Like, maybe if it has a Magic Shield in base, but I have a really hard time seeing this be anything decent. And then for the Ventus Evo, we have Hyper Feral, 4 energy, 1100B, 5 damage. And then when it's in boost, you get plus 5 damage and plus Shadow Strike. 4 energy for 1100B Evo is just way too much. This is not any good. And lastly, I want to cover the important ramp cards for a deck like Boost. So the big 3 ramp cards that you want to keep in mind are from Resurgence, Stoneblade, which is of course plus 2 damage. And if you're on a fist, you charge it. Then from Age of Royalists, we have Sleepwave, which is 3 cost, minus 4 damage, and if you have an Aurelus on your team, energize it. So if you're putting an Aurelus on your team, this is really, really good for this deck, because it's like, hey, it's basically Toxify Turn to Energy in 1 card. And lastly, it helps you stall towards getting to that win con, as well as doing the ramping itself, which is great. And lastly, we have, from this set, we have Stealth Thruster, which is 4 energy, plus 400B as a Baku gear. And when you play it, you energize the top card of your deck. All 3 of these are fantastic. You'll notice that what makes them really good is that they fill other roles as well as being ramp cards. Because the tempo loss from ramp can be really, really hard to reconcile. So having these additional effects in addition to the ramp is very, very important, because as I've said many times, this is an MTG but the fact that there's no need to summon creatures, your creatures exist from the first second of the game, means that the speed of the game is much faster, and any turns that you take for a loss of tempo, would generally be considered a tempo loss in most games, that tempo loss is amplified so much in this game. So it's very important that your ramp cards are like very cheap, or that they're doing other functions at the same time. Sleepwave is probably one of the best ones, because it's stalling by reducing your opponent's damage while also doing the ramp. That makes that card really, really fantastic. And with 3 separate ramp cards like that, I think it will be fairly easy to get to the thresholds we want to be seeing. And thankfully, since we're going to have to be carrying an Aquos in a deck like this, the best Aquos option now, Aquos Hydrus, brings a green fist, so Stoneblade is going to be super easy to enable. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Oh, and actually one last thing on those ramp cards. Because of the gear reduction thing, that all gears are effectively 2 costs less, because you can just put a Bakugan on your gear reducing core and reduce their cost by 2. That means our ramp cards are 1 cost, 2 cost, and 3 cost, which is great. That's what you want to be seeing. So yeah, that's it. That's it for this video. Next time we're going to be covering the final one, Rapid Fire. I know that there's a lot of hype around this one. I saved this one for last because I wanted my boy Kriso to get his time in the sun. But now it's time for me to come in with the real lessons on Rapid Fire. All right. See you guys then. This is Hunter Surge signing off.